Stars are enabled.
Oh, yeah, I got my stars back.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, how are you guys tonight? You guys, it is Thursday night, and you guys are live here on the Brush by Brandy Facebook page and also over on my YouTube channel. My name is Brandy, and I'm the owner and artist behind Brush by Brandy. We have my husband Sean here behind the camera. He's going to help us answer any questions.
Maybe.
Yeah, probably not. Maybe more just pop off in the background than just enough for people to tell us to stop talking.
Oh, yeah.
That's my favorite.
We're going to do that one.
I'm like, wow, that is the most boring life
Shut
ever
your mouth.
where nobody does any talking. We're going to do that one night. We're going to try it. I'll be like, all right, you guys win. No talking tonight.
I'm a mime.
I'm not going to talk to you. Pretend you're not even here. All right, you guys, so we are going to do some painting tonight. This project that I'm working on is actually meant to coordinate with a vanity that I just did, and I'm going to show you guys the steps that we're going to do. The vanity that I did was the fleur-de-lis vanity. It was black with a lot of fleur-de-lis accents on it, and gold. It was really pretty, and that piece sold, and it's going to ship all the way to New York. And she wants a matching side table. So this is a piece that I had in my inventory, and the dimensions work for her to use as a side table. And so I'm going to make it coordinate, but it's not going to be an exact match. This one's going to be a little less fleur-de-lis, just some more subtle accents. So the first thing I want to do to get this one started is I do need to pour a fleur-de-lis mold, and I have my mold here. And at first I was thinking this size might be appropriate. This is the fleur-de-lis en or mold from Redesign with Prima. I was thinking this size would work, but now looking at it against the scale of my piece, it's way too big. So I think we're just gonna do one of these little guys up here, and I'm just gonna cast one of these. So I'm gonna do this first because it's gonna take a few minutes for this resin to set up. What I'm gonna use is amazing casting resin. And I just need to mix very little because that's a super tiny little mold. My stir stick has resin stuck on it.
You need me to get you a new one?
No, it's fine. So this is just a tiny little mold. If I mix too much, I can go ahead and pour one next to it. This resin you want to mix in small quantities anyway. So usually you see us mixing in cups.
Oh, come on. Now we're doing juggling. Come on.
It's not my day, I'm telling you. You usually see us mixing in cups like this size. This is just like a little medicine cup size. And this is a really appropriate size if you're, especially if you're just starting out with amazing casting resin. After you've done a few, you might get comfortable mixing, a couple multiples of these, but never in large quantities because it sets up so quickly that you don't have a chance to use it. So even if I wanted to do multiple molds, let's say I had multiple molds set out, I would mix in small batches and pour small quantities at each time. Just because it doesn't give you enough working time to do large quantities at once. So I'm going to just kind of roughly eyeball how much I need of my mixture. And I'm going to put, this is amazing casting resin, and I have parts A and B, and I just put mine in condiment containers. These I get at the Dollar Tree. Walmart has them. I have two different ones because this, the side B tends to decay the container a little bit faster. So I need to change this one out more frequently. It just gets corroded a little bit. Whereas this one's still in an older container. All right, so now I've got these roughly equal. Amazing casting resin is super forgiving. If my mixture is slightly off, it will still set up, although it might take a longer or shorter time depending on what I was off on. So I'm gonna mix these together. And once I put them in the same container, I've got about 30 seconds to stir because that chemical reaction is going to start. So I stir for about 30 seconds until I feel like those are well integrated into each other. And then I'm going to go ahead and just pour this into my mold. And I'm going to pour it into the one I want. And I do have some.
That's weird. You don't want to put it in the one you don't want?
Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes I do that too. And I do have extra, so I'm actually going to end up with a few of these little tiny fleur-de-lis. And that's okay because I just saved them in a bin. In fact, if I went and looked, I probably actually have an extra fleur-de-lis mold already poured. So I actually had enough for three of these tiny fleur-de-lis. So I'll let these set up. It'll take about 10 minutes and we'll come back and check that out. And I think that's just gonna go here. I'm gonna actually cover, this is a working keyhole. This piece is made by Bombay and Company. And this is a working keyhole, but I do not have the original key to the lock. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cover this keyhole. This one, for some reason, this was missing the metal cover over the top of it. So that's okay in this case because I want to cover it anyways. This one I actually do have the metal piece for, but this is just a faux keyhole. It doesn't even have a locking mechanism in it.
Where's the key?
It has long since departed. What? Yeah, I mean, I could try to find a match, but this is actually a more modern piece. So it's not even like a skeleton lock mechanism. Like there's probably no way I'm going to be able to match a key to that ever if I don't already have it. Some older pieces, sometimes I get lucky and I can go through older keys that I have and find a match to it. This is not going to be that one. You can just tell by what the lock mechanism looks like inside. Okay, so we are going to be doing some blending on this piece tonight. I'm actually going to be showing you the base that I have on here with paint, and then we're going to be adding some glaze too. It's really pretty. But I first want to show you where I got to with just the paint first. I'm going to turn this to its side.
Thank you for explaining that, Joyce. She says, hello, I'm watching from the car while we are traveling. And no, I'm not the driver. Yeah, good.
Thank God, yeah, thank God. Yeah, we have some travel coming up too. We have a tournament, a sports tournament.
Well, some of us do.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Sean will be joining us. So, but my teenager has his learner's permit, so I think I'm going to let him drive some of the distance. He'll be the driver, and I will be talking to you guys so that I'm not scared. No. So I'm not terrified with a 16-year-old driving while I sit on my phone.
Oh man.
Just kidding. I won't. Okay, so the colors that I'm going to use, obviously I have black on here. This is Weisel paint in black, and then the other color I have is earth. So this is earth. Some of you guys asked me for these smaller containers. This is the Weisel chalk synthesis paint, and there are a few colors that come in the 8-ounce sizes. It is the Desert Sunset collection that they put out in the 8-ounce sizes. So earth is one of them. Ivory is a great color if you're looking to try a smaller size. Ivory, Joshua Tree, Native Clay comes in the 8-ounce size. I'm trying to think what the other ones are. Thunderstruck. So those are some, if you're looking for those smaller sizes or just want to try it out, there are some colors that do have these sizes available. So I actually poured mine into containers, and the reason I did that is because number one, I'm trying to work with myself, and I need to stop painting out of my paint cans because I'm adding a lot of contamination into my paint on a regular basis, and they're getting crusty and like they just don't store as well. So I'm trying to teach myself that. These are great.
Oh man, Jan says it's cold and raining in Michigan right now.
Oh, is it? We had some snow today in California. We do not get snow. We are below the snow line in California, so when we get snow here, it is super rare.
It didn't stick. The ground was too warm.
But still, all the kids got their teachers let them out of class to go see it coming down from the sky. Even the high schoolers got to go outside and play in the snow, which I thought was really cute because we don't get snow, so it's like a big deal. You guys probably see our snow and are like, that's not, you don't even know the meaning of snow. That's not snow. That's
it's just white stuff that falls from the sky.
That's like large rain.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like cotton balls.
I used my brushes a little bit earlier and I did put them in the refrigerator. All right, I think they'll be okay. They're a little less soft than what I'd like. I'm just going to kind of loosen up the bristles a little bit. So if I know I'm coming back and I'm going to be painting in the same colors, I'll put them in the refrigerator. I usually put them in a Ziploc, but these I just kind of set in my garage fridge and I didn't put them in the Ziploc. So what I'm going to do on here is I'm going to put on, there's a highlight of the, I started out with Weisel chocolate, but chocolate actually has a little more red in it than I wanted, so I'm changing to earth for my second coat. This is where I make all those decisions. If I want to change something, I'll do it on this second coat. I've got a base coat down. It's really imperfect. I can see my primer underneath. So all I've got so far is I outlined in the black, and in the center I've got a little bit of chocolate. I'm going to add a little bit of water to this. And I'm going to put this earth right over that chocolate, kind of in the center. Pretty basic here. And I'm just showing you this so you can see how I got to the look on the front of this piece.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Brittany says it was 75 to 80 yesterday, and then flurries this morning.
Where are you at?
In
Whitney?
Tennessee.
Oh, in Tennessee.
Yeah, it's just like the joke that I was throwing around earlier that this is, only in California can you have snow this right now, and then in an hour you're going to be out on the lake skiing.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably not.
It's way overdone.
Yeah, probably not exactly. We're still too cold to be on the lake, which we're dying for because we have a boat. We spend a lot of time on the lake. We live about 10 minutes from a lake, and we spend a lot of time on the lake. And like we're ready to be out there, and it's still a little too cold. Obviously, if we're getting snow today.
So that black that you're using, is it straight black?
It's straight black, and then this is the earth in the center here.
Right. Oh, and then apparently on camera, Renee says that it looks like a little, like a rose color.
Oh, interesting. It's a true brown, and I'll show you why in a minute. There's a reason I'm using that brown. This brush, okay, so this is my B10 brush from Klingon, and I'm going to use this to blend these colors together. I also got out the B12 so that I can show you guys the size difference. It's probably about an inch. That's the size difference between the B10 and the B12. This is a smaller piece, so I felt like the B10 was more appropriate, although I used this earlier and my paint started to kind of dry in it, so I might not be happy with it, and that's why I got out that second one. So I'm just going to kind of wisp through this and work these colors together.
Oh, look, Michelle's pulling double duty. She said it's brown on YouTube, but she said that on Facebook. So yeah, she's pulling the old double duty.
you got the YouTube pulled up, and yeah, it is so interesting to see how different like the camera views are. And I mean, the cameras are side by side, same lighting, same everything, and it can totally change colors. I notice that when I take photographs a lot too. Sometimes I want to, I'm tempted to show you guys different photos like in different lighting because it can totally change a color. One of them that I just did that with was All Celtic Fog. And in all my video, it looks really green, but in my still photos, it looks really blue. And I think it just depends on, number one, how the camera picks it up. Artificial lighting versus natural lighting makes a big difference. All right, so that's the basic side that I want. Super simple 2-color blend. 2 colors are great to start with, especially if you're just getting acquainted and want to get more comfortable. Not every paint blends the same either. This is a question I get a lot. And I used a variety of paints. I use Weisel a lot now, but I used a variety. And everyone is a little bit different. And it can get confusing, especially if I'm switching around between brands. How one might need more water, one needs less water, one, I don't know, some that set up a little bit faster, some reactivate quicker, so you have to move faster. So, I mean, no 2 paints are exactly the same. And what I kind of hope from a lot of my videos is that you guys can take like the techniques if you want to put a look together. And sometimes they might need to be modified if you're using some different materials, but you can kind of use them like a cafeteria plan and pick out the pieces you want, combine them in different ways, but that the overall techniques are there.
Oh man, I didn't catch the name, but it's someone over in Glasgow. 2 o'clock in the morning, setting the alarm, getting on.
Glasgow was beautiful. We spent a day in Glasgow. Gosh, it's been almost a year. Yeah.
Has it been that long?
I guess not. I guess, I don't know, 8 months ago or so. It was beautiful. All right, and then I'm going to go down the legs, and I did some of my earth down at the base of my leg here, and I'm going to go ahead and do this leg also.
Of course you are.
Sorry. I really actually
it's like you. Huh. It's very interesting how all this camera equipment is tacky. Huh.
Oh, yeah. I might have done a resin
And I don't
pour.
mean it just looks bad.
Yeah. I might have done a resin pour this week, and everything gets a little bit sticky. I noticed it on my apron, too. Like, I have spots on here that are super hard and crusty where I can tell that anywhere. I, like, touched my... I wear gloves and everything, but I end up touching other things, and then... Okay, so when I'm painting spindles, I'm using a sideways brush stroke. You can come back and clean up your brush strokes if you want, but I'm usually doing more of kind of a slapping. And I
like
work
a backhanded?
Yeah, kind of
or
like
just like front?
Like an open-handed. It's like a.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You want to put a little.
Put a little oomph in there.
Yeah. You want to send a clear message to
a little
your
stink
spindle.
on it. All right.
Tell your spindle how much you hate painting spindles.
Don't do it again.
And I try to make them match all the way around. Since I can't see the other side of these, I'm gonna have to turn this on the table, but then I'm gonna have to listen to Sean yell at me about it. So, yeah, you guys are gonna see the back of my head for a minute. Sorry. Okay, so I did the black, and then just down here on the foot, I'm gonna add a little bit of the earth.
Did you prime this first?
I did prime this. So this is from Bombay and Company, and if you guys remember Bombay and Company furniture, that was like a store that was popular in the 90s, was in like every mall in America had Bombay and Company furniture.
Did they really?
They have a very glossy finish on them. And so I scuff sanded to prep this one. I obviously cleaned it. I scuff sanded it because the Bombay and Company want to take down that glossy finish that's on there and give the paint something to bite onto. I probably tend to over prep. I'm a big believer in prep. I'm not one of the ones that's like, no, you don't need to prep let the paint do all the work for you. I'm a big advocate for prep. I think that is the base of your project, and it also is, you can't go back and fix that. So, I have pieces that I've messed up on the prep, and your paint ends up peeling like a bad sunburn. It makes you want to cry. So I just try to avoid that, and I over prep. I also really like how paint lays on over a coat of primer. It just gives a really nice, clean finish. So even if I'm ever questioning it, I will usually prime versus not prime, just because I like painting over primer.
Like more of an optimist?
Yeah, I'm very optimistic about priming. On this one, the primer was definitely needed. Where I would say I probably went overboard was doing the scuff sanding also, but scuff sanding on a piece like this, you can do it by hand. If you just take a sanding sponge or a pad and just lightly rough up the surface. I'm not trying to cut through the existing clear coat. In fact, you can actually cause more problems for yourself. So I got a piece of my hair in my mouth. You can cause more problems for yourself by taking off that existing clear coat. So try to leave that clear coat intact, and you just want to add some swirls into the finish, rough it up a little bit so that it gives the paint something to bite onto. And I did that, and I primed also. I probably could have just primed, but I will always just do that extra step. It takes like 2 minutes to scuff sand.
Just be careful when you're turning that, because it's only held on there by hopes and dreams. So,
yeah, I get that feeling.
Yeah.
Very strong hope and dream feeling.
A lot of hopes being in there.
I'm gonna go ahead and do the back side of this also.
Of course you are.
And then we'll turn it again, and I'll show you what the next step is going to be in this finish. But I actually want to finish this piece of furniture, which means I need to get this paint on. Okay, so I'm going to basically do the same thing we did on the side. I've got all 4 of my legs done. While I have it turned, I also sneak under here because I've got a different angle, and I make sure that my legs are covered from the back side. So I'm going to add a little bit of my water. I need a little more paint on there. This is earth. This is why I'll paint in earth. Kind of a cool brown. It's got a little bit of a gray undertone in it. Got a couple little fuzzes in my paint there, so I pick them out with my brush. And I want to get this a little larger than the actual area I think I want it. I'm using my Klingon S50 brush to lay this paint on. Okay, so right about there. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then my second color is my black. And I'm making sure I get up here underneath this lip. Yeah, this is definitely like kind of a rickety base I've got this on.
I'm just over here ready to jump off the stool at any second.
My wheel dollies are consumed. I've got a lot of pieces in progress right now. Stuff ready for clear coat, stuff getting ready to ship. So I've got a lot of pieces in my workspace, and I only have 4 sets of wheel dollies. And they're consumed. So we kind of had to use a furniture dolly, and it's a little dicey.
Well, the spindles also wouldn't fit correctly on there, so that's hence the cardboard.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. So I got my black around the edges. Now I'm going to bring some of that earth back a little bit. Just kind of overbrush it into the black.
So, random question for you.
Of course. What other kind are there?
It's not from me. What would you say is the best way to maintain a natural finish after you sand down oak to the raw
Oh,
finish?
that is a great
White
question.
wax to seal?
What do I like the best is a matte clear coat. For some reason, matte doesn't seem to soak into the wood like a satin. I'm assuming what you don't want is the orangey tones that come back. If you really don't want them, then you can use you can do a wash on the wood, and that's a diluted coat of paint in a soft white or cream color. Weizel's Restoration works good, which is kind of a soft beige. It's a good wood tone for like a whitewashed wood when you don't want those orange tones to come back. But I find that a true matte clear coat gives you the closest to natural. Sealed wood is never going to look exactly like unsealed wood. It always brings back some of those orange tones. And that's why if you fully want to combat it, you can put that wash underneath. And then when you seal it and the orange tones come back, you won't notice them as much if you put a wash on the wood. So you'll see a lot of people do that kind of add that diluted coat of paint and then seal it, because you do get some orange tones back. I actually just did a piece like that, and I used a matte clear coat, and I just did.
I know it's way over there.
Yeah, I just did like 4 coats of the clear on it. The other thing I do is I don't work the clear coat into the wood. So don't overbrush it so that it's not saturating. I really just kind of want it to sit on the top and like coat the top. You could even try adding like a clear primer maybe to add a barrier so that clear coat's not seeping into the wood. Does that make sense?
So like the Weizel matte varnish?
Yeah, that's exactly what I have up on the one that I just did. Now it did darken the wood a little bit, but it's as close as you're going to get without adding a wash over the wood to keeping it natural and not getting a ton of those orange tones. I know, that's like the constant battle, wanting wood to stay natural looking, but anytime you seal wood, it's going to bring back some of that oranginess. I did, yeah. The video on it's just going to show me putting a clear coat on. I'll try to voice over and get a little more in depth so you can see, like, I'm not working the clear coat into the wood to make sure it gets all into that grain and soaks it up. And I just do that thin, even coat, let it dry, let it fully dry. And then you can come back and put on 50 coats if you want, because you've created that barrier. I haven't tried it, but I would think clear primer might do the same thing, where you can put that clear primer, and then when you seal over top, it would have a barrier, so it's not going to totally saturate the wood. That's a theory I have. Sometimes those fail.
What?
All right, I got my paint on. You guys want to see what the next step is? Because this step is really pretty. Where I'm actually going with this.
When you're blending like you are, I notice you do not go through the center.
Sometimes I do.
Is that large brush you're using? You weren't dry blending?
This was a dry brush. It's been used a little bit, so it's got some paint in there. I can go right through it, but I do want it to stay somewhat the true color. I don't want it to get too soupy or muddy. I don't have a lot of paint on here, so I'm just kind of dragging the paint as it's drying. Not every paint blends the same either, so I can go through the center, and sometimes I do. It just depends on, these two colors are pretty close together in tone, so it doesn't do a whole lot of changing to them if I go right through them with the other one. Sometimes if your colors have more contrast, the other thing I could do is come back afterwards and I can true the center back up again this is my brush for my earth, and I can just add that color back in again if I really want to keep it the original saturated color. The other thing I do is I switch my brush so that I always have the brown and the black are always in the right spot. And I try to keep those, and I'm just kind of hovering around. And same thing when I was down here on the leg, I had the black lined up with the top and the brown towards the bottom. So when I brush through them, and then it's like double loading your brush. I don't know if you can see it head on. I can tell in person that I've got a lighter side and a darker side on my brush. There's not a lot of contrast with those two colors. All right. So what I really am intending to blend with is glaze. But what I put on this piece was 2 coats of paint, because I'm going to add some glaze over the top. I wanted to show you guys this a couple weeks ago. I started a piece with you, and I was going to do this, and I ended up changing my colors. But I can show you on this one.
It's driving me nuts that there's boxes right there.
Oh, yeah.
Keep scooting this way.
Honestly, most of it's just trash, too. I just need to clean my area up. So this is Tiger's Eye Glaze from Redesign with Prima. You can see it's a super sparkly gold glaze. It's got a lot of sparkle in it. Really pretty. But glaze is made in a clear base, which means it doesn't have much for coverage at all. So that's why I put 2 coats of paint underneath, because I got full coverage. My paint looks good. This is just going to be a clear shimmer over the top. So if I didn't have this full coverage underneath, say if I only did 1 coat, you would see those brush strokes and where my primer was peeking through. So technically on this one, I end up having to do 3 coats because I want my 3rd coat to have that glaze, but I also need full coverage underneath. So we're going to add some glaze. So this is a new glaze. It's super pretty, you guys. And you can see why I put that earth paint underneath, because it's going to be a pretty close color. You could put like a yellow underneath, maybe like a Dijon, like a mustard color would work under that. Whatever you put underneath, it's going to cast through a little bit more of that color. So if you want to pull out a little bit more of a yellowy gold, you can put a yellow underneath. I want kind of more of that antique-y gold. So I'm going to get a new brush for my glaze. And glaze also sets up a little bit faster, and it gets a little stickier. So it's not ideal for blending, but you can blend with glaze. So that's what we're going to do right now. So I'm just going to use what I have in my lid. Let's see. I think I'm going to do the black around the edges first because the glaze sets up faster. So if I do the black later, it means that glaze is going to be sitting and setting up. So I'm just going to put on a really thin layer of the black, very, very little paint. Like I'm just dipping the tips of my bristles into my paint, and it's more probably water than paint. But it's just giving me enough that I'll be able to work it into that glaze. But I do not need coverage because I've already done my 2 coats on this one. So I'm kind of trying to make the black paint match the consistency of the glaze that I'm going to be putting in the center. That little bit of sparkle over the brown. Okay, so I'm going to add some more water in here and just kind of thin out that black paint where it's getting ready to meet into that glaze. Okay, the paint has a longer open time, so that's why I chose to put the paint on first. Glaze just naturally is a little more sticky. And then I'm just going to dip the tips of my bristles into this glaze. I'm just playing with what's on my lid. I don't want very much at all. I'll probably have to dip into here a couple times, but I don't want to create a glob because it's also not as like workable. It's more acrylic feeling.
Before you put that on there and start the clock, when you're doing what you just did, how do you keep from having to reblend it all over again?
I'm going to reblend it all over again. I'm going to, but this time I'm going to do the glaze over it. So I might ask you to come in a little bit closer because I don't know that this sparkle will translate on camera.
Okay. By doing so, are your teeth brushed? I mean, if I'm getting all in here.
Yesterday or today?
Yeah. In this calendar week. Yeah.
Okay, I've got to move pretty quickly with this glaze because like I said, it doesn't have the open time that the paint does. And I'm going to add a little bit of water to it just to make it kind of elongate the glaze a little bit. I'm going to come back up here, just add a little bit of water and fix this a little bit. So glaze is water-based too, so I can use the water with it to kind of keep it open for a longer period of time. I want to try to get it as even as possible, which means my brush strokes are going to play a huge part. Metallics are also kind of directional, meaning if I brush this way, can you see that?
Yeah, metallics are going to get tricky.
Yeah.
It's by no, you can't really tell. Oh yeah, okay, I take that back.
You can see how I brushed a different direction, whereas if I keep my brush strokes going the same direction, it's going to look more consistent in the metallic.
And that's the same thing, spraying it, all that.
Yep, so I just added a little bit more water, and now I'm going to start working it into the black. So I really just want this highlight of shimmer sparkle in that center. My paint underneath was fully dry, so we just did a second coat. Sorry, I have a brush hair over here.
This is the fourth.
Fourth what?
Brush.
Yeah, because I have one for my earth, the brown, one for my black. I had the brush that I blended with, which I wouldn't use the same brush on this one. And then I'm going to come back with my brush for my black and overlap those edges a little bit. This one, I'm not going to brush the black through the center because that black is a matte finish paint, and I do not want to cover up the sparkle of my glaze. So that was my brush for my black. This is my brush for my glaze. And my hand is getting progressively lighter as I go. Okay.
Oh, the camera's having a hard time adjusting. Oh,
metallics are really hard to photograph, and they're hard to get to show up on camera.
I see what it is. It's because your noggin keeps pulling in the picture, so it wants to focus close and then far.
All right, so that's pretty good. And then I'm just going to brush through it so my brush strokes are kind of consistently going the same direction in that sparkle. Can't see this side super well.
You want me to grab one of those lights?
No.
Will that help you? Okay. No.
No, I definitely do not want that. Okay, this is my brush for my black, and I got some gold onto this trim down here, and so I'm just going to clean that up and re-blacken that trim. I didn't add any paint to it, so it's actually very little paint. And then I'm going to pull this drawer out. And I also have the earth up on the top of this drawer, and so I'm going to add that same sparkle up over the top edge of this drawer. The glaze is noticeably stickier to blend with. The water helps, but just be prepared. Like on the vanity that I did with this, I only worked one drawer at a time. Don't try to do like a whole dresser front. It just sets up a little bit faster. All right, and I'm not going to push this in because I actually want this drawer edge to dry, so I'm just going to set it kind of back like that, and I'll let that dry. But can you guys see the sparkle on camera? Can you tell?
Slightly, and that's why I say when I'm spraying, I love to have a light with me so I can see the metallics and how they lay.
So if I'm doing an all over glaze, because it's that translucent, if I just want to add that subtle sparkle, I do like to spray glaze, and you do need to dilute it because it's pretty thick. You can see it. This is what's in the lid. It doesn't even want to run. It's pretty thick. But because it's so touchy to like brush strokes and directions and everything, if you spray glaze, I mean, imagine like this shimmer over the top of everything. Just really pretty. And then my molds are dry, so I am going to paint this, and I will make this gold, and you can imagine I'll have that fleur-de-lis on there. So let's do another side like this. Actually, yeah, I'll turn this and we'll do one of the sides like this too. All right, can you back up a little bit for me?
Apparently. Oh, sorry guys.
I feel like you're invading my personal space.
I was kind of just looking at seeing what you're thinking.
So you want to let your paint fully dry. I had 2 coats of paint on there, and this is the second coat of paint on here. It's fully dry. And that way when I'm working over the top of it, I'm not messing up any of the earth and the...
Not that anybody's asked me, are you able to take that drawer out?
Yeah, I could. You want me to take it out?
To show to let the light hit it for the sheen? Here, hold on.
How does it show up on camera? Does it look messed up?
Mm-mm.
No?
Okay, now
I'm probably going to look at it and like cringe.
Let me see. Do it again. Oh, there you go. You can hold it right there.
Yeah, can you guys see that sparkle? So it turned, I mean, you can see here, I'm going to hold it next to this where I've got the brown base, and you can see the difference that adding the gold over the top makes, and why I'm making it more of a gold highlight than a brown. so let's go ahead and do it again on this side. I'm going to do the same thing where I'm going to add the black around first. I feel like I need to turn this. It's kind of a weird angle. Can you see if I do like that?
Yeah. That's just me panicking from it being on the dolly like that.
Calm down. All right.
I feel like Ginger over here.
Very little paint. I just touched the tips of my bristles. You can kind of see right there how much paint is on there. Very little. Let the water thin the paint out because I don't need paint. I just need to be able to work this into the gold, but I have all the coverage that I need already with 2 coats underneath. I can feel it. I'm not going to knock it over.
Okay. Just that front leg isn't on anything.
Yeah, I can feel it rocking on the dolly, and it's not going to tip.
You know what they say.
I have resistance. Okay. And then I'm just going to dip into this same glaze I have on my lid. Probably add a little bit of water into this too to keep it from setting up.
And at what point do you like just stop and walk away from it so you don't overwork it?
5 minutes before
5 minutes before you're done with it?
Before I actually walk away is when I should have walked away. Is that helpful? No, not at all? Okay, good. I mean, if I need to, I can always come back and redo this. If I step away and I come back and I look at this and I'm like, oh gosh, that drawer doesn't match at all, or the light catches it different.
Like, can you overwork this?
Oh, absolutely you can. I mean, eventually I would start pulling the paint that's underneath. Well, I did it earlier today, so it's dry. YSL fortunately doesn't reactivate super quickly, which is one of the reasons I like working with it. I do not like paints that reactivate quickly. But now, see, I've got all my brush strokes are kind of going different directions, so I've got to clean this up. I'm going to have to keep the brush strokes running the same direction because that metallic is going to show every single stroke that I make.
Oh, so true. I've heard you say that before, and then you wake up Sean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sean,
everything goes to crap in the garage.
Yeah, if you can hear my sander at 2 a.m., I done messed something up.
Yeah. That's the tell.
Okay, so this is a clean dry brush that I just introduced, and I'm using it in place of, for the front, I use this larger brush. Number one, this one's dirty from the brown, and I don't want to introduce that. So I'm just using a clean dry brush, one of the smaller ones. And what I need to do here is I need to get my brush strokes going the same direction. And I could choose vertical or horizontal. I don't think there's any right or wrong way.
Oh no, that's the wrong way right there.
But once I've got a blend that I like, I need to get those brush strokes all going the same direction.
Huh?
So I could choose either one. I think I like it a little bit going.
No, I like it the other way.
Well, this is not a piece for our home, so it's your lucky day. And then I just have a little edge right here. I want to keep this pretty blackened. So I'm going to clean up this edge. And I got a little water onto this leg, so I'm just going to clean that up too. How's that look?
Oh yeah, Brittany, there's no limit. Buy more brushes.
Oh yeah, I do have a lot of brushes, and I know that's a huge luxury. If you don't have a full, collection of nice brushes, I would say save your good brushes for this final step. I end up covering over my blend that I did in the beginning. Obviously having, I usually do 3 color blends and then a clean dry brush. So that's 4 brushes right there. And then if I need to do 2 coats, so that's 8 brushes that I would need just for one furniture piece if I put them into dry time and I don't want to wait for them to dry.
And how long do you wait after you apply this glaze before you seal it?
I would wait for it to be dry to the touch. I do have some decoration I'm going to put on this. So at least dry to the touch. If you're brushing on your clear coat, introducing that moisture again, you can reactivate things. So I'd wait at least 24 hours probably so that I don't reactivate anything underneath. Just got a little bit of
really wish you went the other way with it.
Oh, sorry. Sorry you feel that way.
Very strongly.
All right. So I think I'm going to leave this if I need. I can't see it very well. It's a little off center. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting for it. Let's play around with it a little bit more.
Let's do that.
Yeah, I know you were hoping I would say that. So I added some water just to keep it in play. Obviously these are still wet because I just put them on. And I kind of want to center it a little bit better. Pull a little bit more of that glaze out to the edges. That's kind of what I'm doing. And it's weird because over here I have this thin border, but over here I have kind of a wider border. So I think I need to just move it into the center a little bit better.
Would it do anything as far as the look is concerned if you took a dark wax and put dark wax on this at this point?
Wax kind of dulls the sparkle of anything because wax is kind of a matte finish. So anytime you've got like, you know.
But if you were going to do like dark wax over a dark paint.
Oh, absolutely. Does dark wax change the color of dark paint? Yeah. Like if you put black wax over black paint, it makes it like the most rich saturated black. It's really pretty. But if you want it to be super saturated, black wax, dark wax, like brown wax, it absolutely changes the color of even dark colored paints. I'm struggling because it's off center no matter how I look at it. All right, let's try to even this out a little bit. So I got to pull it kind of this direction so it looks. Let's get that clean, dry brush. Lay this off a little bit. Dark wax or black wax, it just kind of saturates the color. I'm trying to get my brush strokes running the same direction. I think I need to let a little bit of it go up onto this edge right here. And then I, of course, got some of my gold onto the front here, so I'll just have to go back. But thankfully, like, the very edges are solid black. This is my brush for my black. And now I'm just going to clean up those brush strokes so they're all kind of running the same direction. Super light hand for that. Put some new black on the front. It's a little more finicky, but I really like this sparkle that it adds over top. I'm still not super happy with this. Got some glaze up here. I might need to let this dry because it could just be that I'm seeing it wet and a little bit off center. Clean up that gold I got on the front. Oh, that's better. So it's more sensitive, that, you know, stickiness, and then having the metallic where it shows every, you know, brush stroke that you do. But I can feel it getting kind of sticky right now where I probably need to let it dry, and then I'll see what it looks like. Can't tell this section right here how this is going to dry. So I think I'm just going to let that one dry and see if I like how it looks. All right, so let's.
Well, you really like to test the limits of gravity, don't you?
No, but it's fine, right? It's starting
until it's not.
It's starting to dry, and I can see just the sparkle on the center of that drawer. Just kind of adds.
Are you going to put a transfer on this?
She does want to transfer on it. I think we're going to do a floral. I think we're going to just do a floral, like kind of a bold floral over here. It's not going to be exactly like the vanity that it's meant to go with. But what I'm going to start trying to do a little bit more is I think photographing pieces with just the paint and then photographing them again with the transfer or whatever I add over the top. And the reason for that is, you know, like, I think there's a taste for everything. And I also want to show just some really pretty paint finishes, showcase those a little bit. And then, you know, people can see how I intend for like my YouTube channel to be, that I want it to be that you could take this paint technique from this video over here and add this transfer stencil, whatever, from another video. And you can kind of cafeteria plan your looks together. So I don't know. I think I'm going to try to do that a little bit more too. All right. And so I will paint this and add some foil over the top. And that's just because she wants a little nod to the fleur-de-lis without this being an exact match to that vanity. So super fun. So what do you guys think? Play with glazes. I'm going to do the same thing down on the leg, and everywhere I put that brown paint will have the gold glaze over the top. It's going to be the perfect base for it. And you can see how if I had yellow under here, it might be a little more golden, and now it's more of like an antique gold look. So that's Tiger's Eye Glaze. That's what the container looks like. Really pretty. It has a ton of sparkle. And I like that this is more of an antique gold, not like a lot of gold paint is a yellow gold, like a bright yellow gold. And I really like this color. All right, you guys, so I'm going to pop off. I do have a new video coming out on my YouTube channel. So if you guys aren't already subscribed, check out there. Let's see, what do we have going on this next week? Oh, I'll be live. I think I'll be live on my page tomorrow morning, my time, with a guest.
What?
And a surprise.
I'm right here.
That's all I can say. Yeah, nobody would tune in for that.
No. I think you'd have like negative viewership.
Yes, I plan to have a surprise guest on my page tomorrow morning. We were supposed to do it today, but there was an eye injury that happened. So that person couldn't come on to my page this morning.
Are they going to come on with a patch
surprise
tomorrow?
So the only reason I'm saying if is because if the eye injury continues into tomorrow, then this could go south fast.
Is this going to be like a pirate?
Yeah. So you guys, if you don't catch it live, definitely go look for that tomorrow, and I have a surprise to tell you guys about. So otherwise, I hope everyone has a great weekend. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us, and I will catch you guys next week.